Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. I have always been the guy, I believe at least, to be well, I guess you could say put together in the terms of hygiene, hygienics, smelling decent, teeth brushed, showered, hair combed, groomed. I've always been the guy, at least, for like the most like recent 20 years of my life. I've always been always well prepared, dressed, sprayed on. I always feel like I am not like dressed or am not like clean. I have a very clean, I think, appearance, and I like to keep that up to standard. I've never been, out of deodorant. I've never been out of toothpaste. I've never been out of floss. I've never been out of cologne. I like to keep those things on deck and at the ready because you never know when you might need them. If I'm away and I need something, I will buy it, no matter what it is. I've never been in the situation where I've had to do that, right? I'm always prepared whenever I travel, whenever I go somewhere, however long I'm going to be gone for. I make sure that I have my toiletries and my essentials squared away. I've never had to ever borrow somebody else's item, like toiletry item. I have never once in my life ever borrowed a toothbrush because that seems disgusting as heck. I don't know about you guys, but using somebody else's toothbrush is a desperate move, is a desperate action, a desperate act of a man that, is just down on his luck. Thankfully, I always have a toothbrush, when I need to brush my teeth, whenever I travel, and it's always at the ready. I'm never someone to forget something so important as a toothbrush because I know oral hygiene is very important, to me at least. I like to keep my teeth as clean as possible. Sometimes after meals, I'll just floss my teeth because I know I have something in them because I cannot go throughout the rest of my day with feeling something in my teeth or knowing something is in my teeth, Sometimes you can't really tell if there is something in your teeth, and then you need to floss, and then you figure it out, right? And then you go to floss and you're like, oh shoot, I was walking all day with this piece of lettuce in my teeth. It's not a good feeling. It's like equivalent to walking with toilet paper on your foot after you're done using a public restroom. It's like that, but it actually could be a little worse. Because when you talk to people face to face, they're going to be looking at you, examining you from the eyes down, right? Your teeth are right there. They're where you're, they're in your mouth, right? You kind of make a little bit of eye contact with another person, if they're smiling or whatever, right? It's your eyes are just going to scan, analyze, right? And if you're someone like me who notices something off with somebody, I tend to kind of my eyes just go to that thing that seems off. And something that could be off is just something simple as someone's lunch in their teeth. And that could just throw everything off. Your vibe with the person, what you're talking about might get, you might forget about. Everything could just go downhill from there. So I always keep floss, pretty much at the ready, where I always try to floss my teeth, or maybe even gum. Gum works too. It's sticky. It's it kind of traps things that could get in your teeth and makes it not as, it loosens it up. So when you're chewing gum and you're like, oh, that's a piece of steak from earlier. Thank you, gum. You saved my life. Not really, but you saved potentially an awkward conversation with somebody that could have involved, the person being able to tell what I had for lunch or dinner or whatever, right? So I always try to be prepared for that type of stuff. And I've never been the one to have to borrow anyone else's toiletries. Like I said, toothbrush, never done that. I don't even know if I would be able to do that in the first place. Could you imagine doing that? Actually borrowing somebody else's toothbrush to brush your own teeth. That to me is almost like as bad as like, oh man, exchanging needles. Like that's like not a good thing to do. What if somebody has like gingivitis or something like that? Or they bled when they were brushing their teeth because their gums are trash, and you use that toothbrush. That is so disgusting. I would feel like I would have gotten mouth cancer right then and there. Like, oh, pack it up, boys, I'm done. I would not be able to, go throughout the day, thinking that I'm not like, I didn't catch something like mouth cancer, tongue cancer, something like that. I would be like, oh, I'm toast, I'm through, I'm finished. I got something for sure. I don't know what it is, but I got it. I mean, I don't think I've ever been in the situation where I needed to borrow somebody else's toothbrush. And like I said, I wouldn't do it either way. It's just like not, I'd rather have stinky breath. At least it's my own breath. At least I know like it's my own. I got nothing to worry about. It's my own DNA in there. I know it smells, but it's like it's my own. I would rather have that than have fresh breath knowing I used somebody else's toothbrush that they've used for a while. Like I would not want to do that. Could you imagine that? How you would feel about that? You'd feel weird. You'd feel a little awkward. You would not. You'd be like, all right, buddy, thank you for letting me use this. I'm going to throw it away now because you should not use it. They're like, no, it's good. Like, no, just throw it in the street. Like, it's gone, whatever. All right, get a new one. Sorry. I apologize. My actions, my forgetfulness to pack my toothbrush has caused me to throw out your toothbrush. My bad. Sorry. Same with deodorant. I would not use another man's deodorant. I mean, like, it would be tough, though, because at least if you have smelly breath, you can keep your mouth shut. You can kind of do that with your armpits, just kind of keep them down. But, like, eventually, that smell will seep out, and it stinks very badly. Very bad. Now, I've not heard of armpit cancer being transferred through using someone else's deodorant, but still, like, I would not want to use another man's deodorant for any situation like that. It's just like, it's too weird for me. It doesn't seem, I would not be comfortable doing that. I just could not picture myself being, that desperate to do that. Maybe if it was, well, you know what? Hold on. There's a little bit of a loophole in this situation. Thank God for modern science. It's called spray-on deodorant. Not full body, but like spray-on for your armpits, which is, if somebody has that, sure. I mean, that's totally fine because it's not like you're not like you're smearing a stick or the gel kind on your armpit and then giving it to somebody else to do the same thing. That's yucky. That's disgusting. I would not do that. But if it's a spray-on, completely different. Like that to me is okay. That to me is perfectly fine because there's no way of transmitting cancer from a spray-on deodorant from one person to another. So in that sense, I would be fine to do it. I'd be totally fine. Same with floss. I mean, like, you're not going to reuse floss. You get it from the package. You cut off a piece and boom, you can use that. That's totally fine too. But, rub-on deodorant, a toothbrush, a razor, that's another thing. Whoa, like, you can't use another man's razor. There's no way you could do that. I'm sorry. I mean, you could probably dip the blade. Like, maybe if you change the blade out, right? If it's like a traditional razor where you can just swap out the blade, yeah. I think at that point it's perfectly fine. You're not shaving yourself with the handle. You're using the razor. So if it's got a fresh blade, yeah, that's totally fine. If there is no more blades, you're down to the one blade, and you got to look sharp for that night or the morning, whatever it is, and you got to shave, and you're looking homeless, and like you need to put a blade to your face to make yourself look like you're employed, then I would probably dip that blade in a cup of alcohol for like an hour. Maybe if I'm that desperate, if there's like no store nearby, and this is like the only option that I have, maybe. But I would be fearful of it. Very fearful because, I mean, look, I mean, like these razor blades, right? They're not like the most, and after a while, they're not the most sanitized, sterilized thing out there. It's like they're small, they can build up gunk. I mean, do you really like? Be honest, guys. Like, how often do you when you're done shaving, do you like really like clean that blade all that well? No, you just kind of run it over some hot water and put it back in there. Like, I mean, it's not like the most cleanest thing out there. It's pretty nasty, right? And then you're shaving your face, like it's all those microscopic cuts on your face. Like, no, I wouldn't want to do that either. Now that I think about it, that could be a tragedy. I could get, I could get like some kind of like viral infection, like some bacteria, I don't know, parasite, ringworm, some crap like that. That would be terrible. Imagine that on your face. That's the thing too. It's like, shaving as a man, right? When you shave as a man and you shave like me, almost like every other day, it could be a very, very, very painful thing to do daily. And I'm not good with pain, but it's got to be done to look your best, right? You have to shave. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, I mean, you could look homeless if you'd like to, but that's not really my style. So like, shaving is very necessary as a grown man in this world. You just kind of have to do it. I know some people like beards. Mine's not that great. I'm kind of thinking about trying it out just for a little bit, just to take it for a swing, just to see if it's any better than I thought it was. But typically I shave, pretty much like almost every other day or every 2 days, right? Because I need to. Because when it starts growing in, I just don't like the way it looks. I don't know. Maybe some people think it's all right. I feel like I look a little homeless and could, you do without it. So, I mean, shaving is a painful act because all those cuts, like you could have like the freshest blade out there, you slip once and then boom, you got a cut. Now, most cuts don't really hurt, but sometimes in the right spot, typically for me, like around the neck area, like where my Adam's apple is, that kind of like can hurt a little bit. Sometimes on my chin, sometimes like near my upper lip, that could hurt too. And, when it starts to bleed, it's like, it's just annoying, and it just feels like, because like sometimes it takes a while to shave and you want to do it quickly. If you do it quickly, too quickly, you can cut yourself, and that's always like the bad thing. And the worst part is after shaving, right? You're done, you wash everything off, all the shaving cream's off, you're feeling your face out, you're like, did you miss a spot, having to go over it a couple times because these blades are not the best blades ever, come on. I use Gillette Fusion 5-bladed razors, and even the fresh ones, they do a pretty good job, but sometimes you got to go over a few spots a few more times just to get every hair out because, one of my pet peeves actually for myself and just like in general when viewing other people, if this actually happens to them, is seeing and feeling, well, just like feeling on my own face, like areas of my face where I missed shaving, and then seeing other men out there like walk around the world, how they do with like clearly, parts of their face where they missed shaving. That to me is embarrassing. Is like a huge pet peeve of mine. So when I shave, I really, look at my face and feel around. And I'm like, did I miss anything? If I did, I'm gonna go over it again. And when I see grown men that actually miss areas of them shaving, I actually get a little pissed off about that. I'm not gonna lie, it just kind of makes me mad. It's like, brother, you need to go back into the restroom and finish shaving because you did not finish. It's unacceptable. I don't know what it is. It's just like that image is just, really, it really annoys me. It's like you could be better if you just went back and completed the job, but you didn't. You got lazy or you just didn't care. It's like you need to pay closer attention when you are grooming yourself in the restroom. At least that's what I do. I always try to make sure that I'm paying the closest attention when I have to groom. Like I get sometimes here and there, I'll get a hair or two on my earlobe. That's a sign of aging. I hate it. I mean, I absolutely hate it, but it happens, right? I don't let that hair just stay there for free. No, I cut that thing down. Like there's no way I'm going to walk around with like a few hairs just on my earlobe, right? Dark black hairs. Like there's absolutely no shot that that's going to happen. I'm sorry. You have lost your spot. You will not be here as long as I am alive. I'm sorry. This is not okay. There's just things about that where I'm very picky on. Like if I feel like an area on my face of where it could be smoother, I'll go back over again. I don't care. One hair that misplaced, unkept, too long, I'm like, nah, it's over. Sorry, bud. I don't know. I guess it's just like maybe like a OCD thing. I don't know. I've never been to a doctor in a long time, so I'm not sure if I have OCD or not. But I feel like that is something that is like usually diagnosed with people who have OCD, but then again, I'm not too sure if I have it or not. Maybe I just like being clean and neat. There's nothing really wrong with that, right? I mean, I enjoy just being clean as I can be. You know, if I'm not clean, I feel yucky, and I don't want to feel yucky. I want to feel good. So I guess like, you know, the moral of that is like, don't share your toothbrush. Don't share your rub-on deodorant, right? Don't share like a washcloth. Oh my gosh. Have you ever been in a situation where you need to wash your body and you need something? Soap sometimes just doesn't cut it. I'm sorry, but you need like some kind of apparatus or like a third-party device, right? You got your body, the bar of soap. You need a cleaning apparatus to suds up, to scrub your body, to actually clean yourself. I'm not too sure if you've ever met any of these crazies out there, and I've met a few, but you know they're like, I don't know what they think, but they assume and they think actually, you know, to the high heavens that a bar of soap on your body is cleaning you. I don't buy that. I really don't, because it's a smooth, like depending on what kind of soap you use, whichever one it is, it's a smooth surface, right? Like you can't like argue the point to me that that bar of soap is digging into your skin and lifting the dirt out of your skin at a decent rate. Like there's no way. As long as, you know, I have a washcloth, right, that I suds up with my favorite soap, right, and I take it all over my body and I go and I scrub myself. You can't really scrub yourself with a bar of soap, in my opinion. You just can't. It's just like, fundamentally, I just can't see how people will do that and be like, yeah, I'm clean. Like, are you really? Like, I don't see it. You know, you can't, no one, and I mean nobody can like argue the point like it's just as good, if not better, than just using a bar of soap. Like, there's no way. I can't, I just don't, I don't see that. I mean, you know, when you wash your hair, right? You put the shampoo, you put in your hair, you suds up your hair. You don't just kind of leave it there. You kind of like digging with your nails and just like kind of like go at it with your scalp too. And you really clean you wash your hair and you clean your scalp, right? Why can't you do that with your body? You know, you don't think that there's just like dirt there that's just like gonna come out easily just like if you use like a little bit of soap and just like brush the water over it and just let it roll down? No, like you gotta actually like, you know, clean yourself, right? I don't know. I mean, like, think about this. Do you think, not do you think, when you go get your car washed, do you just put the soap in your hand and just kind of like smear it over with the on your car, on your wet car? No, you use a towel or like a sponge or something. Like, it's the same exact principle. Like, you wouldn't just like clean yourself with your hand and like a bar of soap. It's not going to do the job. But there's some people out there that will just die on the hill like, no, I just use a bar of soap. That's actually filthy. That is filthy, in my opinion. That is actually something that is so foul, so barbaric, so low, in my opinion. That's just like, why? You're not clean. Like, I'm sorry to tell you this, buddy, pal, but you're not clean. You're just like, you think you're clean, but you're not, you know? It's like when you were a kid, right? When you were very young, you did not wash your body as good as you do now, right? You just don't. I guarantee you, a lot of you did not wash behind your ears when you were like 7 years old. I do all the time now. when you grow up, you realize that, hey, this kind of builds up dirt and gunk and crap back there, that you got to actually put some soap and water in a washcloth back there and put it to work to clean yourself. You can't just not wash your body. You just can't just let the soap and water just run down it. That's not clean. That is not clean. And don't even get me started on grown men that don't wash their legs. That is actually disgusting. Like, you really actually think that you don't got to wash your legs? Guy, let me tell you something. Like, how many times you, like, in the summer heat in pants and you can feel like your leg is kind of sweating or your shins are sweating, right? You can feel that. Or when you work out, right? You can feel that. And you're just going to let that stay there? Oh, I'll just let the soapy water run down. Like, nah, bro. Now, what about your knees? What about your ankles, your heels, your actual feet? You got to wash all that too. It's disgusting when I hear some people say stuff like that. Like, oh, I just use soap and water. That's it. I don't use no washcloth, no loofah, no sponge, nothing. It just, soap, water, and just move it around. Like, that to me is disgusting. I'm sorry. I just cannot get past that. Like, that is totally something that I would not want to, you can't even pay me to do that. It's like, me being myself, being as clean as I can possibly be. I mean, I would not, go days doing that. If I went days doing that, cleaning myself, or air quotes, cleaning myself that way, I would know for a fact that I'm not cleaning myself at all. And I feel dirty. I would feel dirty. I would not feel clean. I'm sorry. I just cannot. You can't convince me otherwise. I just would not feel clean at all. Speaking of clean, and not really speaking of clean, but like just changing the subject though, I have noticed that I have gotten a surplus of dinosaur content on YouTube ever since I decided to start watching a podcast. It was a Lex Friedman podcast, and he had Dave Hone on, a paleontologist, and the guy loves T-Rex, and I do too. I'm like, I saw this, and I'm like, dude, this guy's awesome. He loves T-Rex so much. I love T-Rex so much. Like, dude, I mean, the T-Rex is my favorite animal of all time. Of all time. Like, there's no other animal out there to me that I like more than T-Rex. I mean, I've never seen a T-Rex, but I love T-Rex. Or maybe you probably ask a lot of people out there what their favorite animal is. Some casual, lame people, like, what's your favorite animal? I like a monkey. Or someone over there is like, I like a flamingo. Or I like a rhino, an elephant. Casuals, bunch of casuals. You ask me, what's your favorite animal? Brother, I love T-Rex. Like, I love T-Rex so much. And like I said, I've never seen one. I've only seen them in movies. And I'm like, this is the best. This thing is awesome. When I saw Jurassic Park the first time in my freaking life, dude, I was like, this thing is the greatest thing, the greatest animal that I've ever seen. Oh, wait, they're not real? Or they were, but they're not now? Like, what do you mean? It gets your head spinning when you're that young. You don't know how to make it out. You don't know how to process that this thing was alive at a time, but now is gone. And what I'm watching in a movie is make-believe and fake, but that thing was real. It's hard to comprehend as a young child back in the day, but I absolutely fell in love with T-Rex. I had so many toys of T-Rex, so many models and T-shirts of T-Rex. I watched Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3 so many times as a kid. Would imitate T-Rex with the tiny arms and all that. I mean, I love T-Rex, and I still love T-Rex. And having this podcast pop up into my algorithm, right? This paleontologist, and listening to him, what he says about T-Rex, how it was just a gigantic beast, the biggest land predator in the world, right? The biggest one the world has ever seen was T-Rex. Not just by length, but by like sheer size and strength. And like he was just saying, like, he talked about the fight in Jurassic Park 3. between Spinosaurus and T-Rex. And now, if you don't know about that fight, let me give you a little bit of backstory. Jurassic Park 3 came out. This was back in 2001, right? I was a young kid when I saw it, very young, right? I was so excited to see it because it would have been my first Jurassic movie in theaters. I saw it with my brother and my father, right? The opening weekend, when I saw it, right? I was about 8 years old when I saw it. And, the movie's going on. It's cool. It's Dr. Grant's back. He's got to go into this island to save this young boy, and he's going to be with their parents. They're going to do this search party, expedition, find the kid, come back, right? It's awesome, right? I can't wait. I noticed, though, before even watching the movie, the poster of the movie and the logo of the movie that's shown at the beginning is not a T-Rex. It's a new dinosaur. Further on, I think I was very young back then, so I didn't really know. I don't think I knew what it was at that point until I watched the movie, but I knew that it was not a T-Rex. I might have actually figured it out before I saw it, but I can't remember if I did. But it was a Spinosaurus, right? And Spinosaurus, essentially became the logo. I was not a biggest fan of that. Today, back then, I'm like, this is different, but Jurassic Park, I'm gonna go watch it. I don't care. I was very young, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Jurassic Park 3, they encounter the search party encounters Spinosaurus, and Spinosaurus is like the bad guy of the movie. As T-Rex was the bad guy in the first one, now Spinosaurus is the bad guy in the first one, right? It's a dinosaur that's hunting the search party, and you see Spinosaurus. He kills some of the search party. He's very big, strong. He tears open a plane to get to our characters. They get away. They're running away, and everything, and about a quarter way, maybe a third of the movie in, you see T-Rex. And I'm like, oh, there he is. There's my guy. There's T-Rex. This is awesome. The other guy was cool, but, he wasn't T-Rex. So when we see T-Rex, he's eating a dead dinosaur for dinner. And then he, pauses, he looks up and he sees the search party, right? He's like, oh, look at these humans. I'm going to chase them. So he decides to chase the humans. I don't know why. He's already chowing down on some dead dinosaur he just killed. Why would he leave his meal? No idea, right? But then the humans, they're still sort of being chased by Spinosaurus, just kind of far away, and then they run into Spinosaurus. And then all of a sudden we got a huge heavyweight fight between Spinosaurus and T-Rex. And I'm in the theater, losing my mind, oh, wow, this is freaking cool. This is now, the clash of the Titans. We got the new guy, Spino, and then we got my boy, T-Rex. This is going to be awesome. I'm expecting in my head, Spinosaurus is cool and all, but that's T-Rex. There's no way this chump, this new guy is going to beat T-Rex. Ain't no way. And the fight starts and T-Rex kind of is, kind of showing a little bit of dominance, but Spinosaurus is the new guy. He's giving him a run for his money, punching him up again, pushing him around. I'm like, all right, T-Rex, come on. And what are we doing here? Kill this guy. And then, that's not what happened. Spinosaurus breaks T-Rex's neck and Spinosaurus wins that fight. Total heartbreaker for me as a young boy at the age of 8 years old, having been a T-Rex fan, for a long, long time. Seeing T-Rex lose that fight, made me hate that movie from a very young age. It was cool, don't get me wrong, still pretty cool, but I knew from that I was like, yeah, this movie's okay. That actually rubbed me the wrong way when that happened. When Spinosaurus killed T-Rex that way, I was like, nah. I don't buy it. I just don't. You can't tell me that this guy. I know he's got arms. He's got actual arms, and T-Rex doesn't have arms. But you can't tell me that this guy beat T-Rex. No way. So from then on, from seeing that movie, I'm like, that as a young boy, I'm like, that pissed me off. That really did piss me off. I did not comprehend it. To the fact that he actually beat T-Rex, and so many years after I have seen the movie, I convinced myself to debate friends and like even debate my brothers. Like, nah, T-Rex is still better, bro. Like, I don't care what you tell me. Like, Spinosaurus is a chump. T-Rex is the man. I don't care what you tell me. You can't tell me otherwise. And my entire life I went like, I actually had doubts, as a young adult and as an adult, like, up until I watched this podcast and like, wait, so was T-Rex even the biggest predator on land? Was he actually the biggest dinosaur, the biggest meat-eating dinosaur? Like, and then like there was other like, movies that they had in the Jurassic series, like I think Dominion had Gigantosaurus, which was like another big carnivore that like I guess kind of rivaled Tyrannosaurus Rex, but like I wasn't sure if it was just because like the movie franchise wanted to make a bigger dinosaur, so they exaggerated the size of it just to make it look bigger so T-Rex could fight that as well. I mean, I don't know, but like, and then I was, like I said, I was watching this podcast, and this guy's a paleontologist, and he's like an expert on T-Rex, and Lex Friedman straight up asked him, like, is there any chance that T-Rex would have lost that fight? And the guy said, absolutely no shot. Like, no shot at all. The T-Rex has the most powerful bite in the history of land predators in the world ever recorded. Now, I don't know how they could record that from a skeleton, right, from a fossil, but I assume these guys are pretty smart, smarter than me. So I'm going to listen to these guys. They probably know what they're talking about. But he was like, there's no way that a T-Rex would lose to Spinosaurus because Spinosaurus' bite is so much weaker than T-Rex's. If T-Rex got like one bite on him, it would be done. Toast. Over. Right? Adios. Felicidades. Like, there's no shot. And he was saying like the T-Rex's like neck area and head are so massive and so strong, like the move that Spinosaurus used in Jurassic Park 3 to kill T-Rex, like by breaking his neck, wouldn't even be possible because the T-Rex's neck is so strong, and Spinosaurus's bite and jaw and neck are not even as close to being as strong as T-Rex. It would never even be possible. Something to myself like, oh my God, my hero my real life hero, my favorite animal of all time, it would still be the champion. And this movie just lied to me. This movie just wanted to make a new dinosaur, a new logo, a new age, kill T-Rex. Why? I don't know. Why would anyone kill T-Rex? He's the most popular dinosaur of all time. And it's just all lies. Lies and deceptions by Hollywood. Joe Johnston, the director. I don't know who wrote the movie, but shame on you for trying something new and making me think that Spinosaurus actually would beat T-Rex. Nope. I just watched a video, an entire podcast with a paleontologist tell me that would not be possible. You know how happy I was to find out that news, that was true, that the T-Rex would still reign supreme. Man, it really just made me smile. I was like, yes, I knew it. There's no way. I knew when I was 8 years old. I called that like that's stupid. That would never happen. But then I was like, you know what? Maybe it would. Maybe it wouldn't. But then this guy came in and just saved me, showed me the way by science, by evidence, by paleontology that would not happen. So that honestly made my week. Like, finding out that T-Rex is still the supreme apex predator of the dinosaurs, apex predator on land, the greatest, most giant, graceful king of the dinosaurs is still the king. Like, boy, it was truly something that I was like, yeah. Yes. Like, it's like a silent win. It's a win that you don't really need to blurt out to everybody, which I probably won't, but I just did, I guess. But the king remains the king. Man, it was something special, I will say. But now I'm flooded. Now my algorithm is just flooded. My algorithm on YouTube is just flooded with dinosaur stuff, which I've been consuming ad nauseum, absolute nauseum, to the fact where I'm now watching Prehistoric Planet on Apple TV Plus, which is a dinosaur documentary type of thing. And obviously, there's no actual footage, right? It's all CGI because there's no real dinosaurs out there. But like, I've got the dinosaur bug again. I don't know why, but I do. And I'm watching that prehistoric planet right now. And what was the first dinosaur that they showed on that documentary? What would you guess? Could you guess? What do you think? Velociraptor, Spinosaurus, Triceratops, Stegosaurus, Brontosaurus, Apatosaur, Brachiosaurus. Nope. What was it? Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's right, baby. Best dinosaur of all time. And honestly, it's for the most part, Jurassic Park pretty much accurately depicts Tyrannosaurus Rex pretty well. The only thing that they kind of get wrong is the eyesight, and it works in the movie as a way to beat the T-Rex or get away from the T-Rex. Is in the movie, if you haven't seen, spoiler alert, the T-Rex can't really see all that well. In real life, apparently, I don't know how they would even figure this out, but apparently in real life, the T-Rex has an incredible eyesight, like better than an eagle. Apparently, it can see you from miles away, which is kind of scary, right? Could you imagine a predator being that big, that large, and being able to see you from miles away? That would be freaking insane. I mean, like, I always kind of wish that I had a time machine, that I could travel back in time. That way I could see dinosaurs up close and personal. But then again, I don't think I would want to do that because everything back then was huge. Huge, bro. I like I said, I was on this rabbit hole and it was just in my algorithm. You know those like size comparison videos if they have like a little guy like walking like on an endless platform past like dinosaurs like getting, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, man, dude, there were so many dinosaurs back then that lived that were freaking massive. So many massive ones, even like the smaller like meat eating dinosaurs like were like my size. Like you wouldn't even want to be near them. Like, oh my gosh, like there's no way humans would have survived back then. I mean, maybe if we endured and like battled back and like got smart, but like, dude, it would have been freaking tough for us to actually live during the time of the dinosaurs. I mean, like it would have been super, super tough. We might have actually maybe gone extinct, honestly, because everything was so big and massive. Like if once we killed all the things that we could like, size wise, like actually, hunt and kill and eat, everything else was so massive. Like, I don't even know if we would be able to compete if humans went back, if humans existed during the time of the dinosaurs, still to this day, I can't imagine how humans were able to combat grizzly bears when we first came to the North Americas or Russia or wherever the heck grizzly bears are from. Like, I mean, that had to have been bloody as well. That had to have been a actual massacre to put it lightly. I mean, imagine mankind stumbling across like an angry, hungry grizzly bear. Oh no, that is not something that you want to be a part of or near. I mean, and then just imagine being back in time and stumbling across a T-Rex. Oh man, no way, absolutely not. But I mean, yeah, this podcast was so freaking awesome. I don't know what it is about me or maybe just men in general. We just love old stuff like that. Like dinosaurs freaking fascinate me. Same with like history. Like history fascinates me. Roman Empire, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt. Oh man, I'm just so fascinated with that stuff. And just like, dude, I mean, I was just like, I was in the gym, right? I was lifting weights, and the soundtrack for God of War came on my AirPods, right? And that the theme for that game will like, it will push you through anything that you're doing. It will aid you in completing your workout and anything tough that you are doing at that moment. Like it is what you need. Forget about like pre-workout or creatine. If you have that blasting, you can do whatever you want. It will fuel you. But I was just kind of thinking to myself like, dude, ancient times, right? Rome, Greece, Egypt, right? Like they're not the lifespan of those men back then could not be that high, right? Maybe like 40, 45, maybe like in that, like that's like a good long life as a man back then, maybe, right? So like if you were in the military, right? Um, you're probably like a general, like around like, you know, 25, 23 to like 25 years old. Like you might have been a general. And then if you live that long, 30 years old, you might be like emperor or like, you know, lord or king or something like that. Like there was a lot of like, there had to have been like a lot of young dudes back then with like commands of armies and legions of men behind them at such a young age, dude. Like, could you imagine that? Like, just kind of picture this, right? You know, I think I'm pretty sure like there were so many guys back then that joined the military at a very young age, like maybe around like 15 or 16, right? Let's say you survive for a few years and you promote, right? 18, you're no longer just like a infantry, like you're a captain, right? And then like 20 comes along and 21 and you're still alive. You know, you've built a rapport with the men. You know, now you're no longer just like a captain. Now you're a general. You're in command of the armies. And after that, what do? Usually most military leaders after that go into politics, right? Then you become like the emperor or the king at like 30 years old. And like you're at such a young age for like our standards, but you're in command of like so many things. That must have been crazy for the boys back then. You know, insane. Now we have generals that are like, what, 60 years old, you know, in command of armies. It's like much like it's not as like, you know, they're not as young as they once were, I would assume, as they are now, right? Like, I mean, just like thinking about that, you know, what it was like for like the boys back then, you know, it's just insane, you know, to think about. But I love that stuff. Just like I love like history and all that crap. You know, I'm like obsessed with that stuff. I don't know what it is. It's just like I can't seem to like, you know, turn it off. You know, it's just always something that's like so fascinating to me. Like I just want to know more about that stuff. It's so cool. I really think that, you know, if I went back to school, I would totally just like focus on history and like become like some kind of like really cool like elite history professor and like, you know, start like campaigns of like really digging deep on like what the heck, you know, what was this country all about, and like start like these expeditions and like, you know, research teams on like figuring out like what was it really like in ancient Rome. Like I'm pretty sure there's a lot of information out there already, but like I would want to be, you know, I would want to have a piece of that. I would like to take a crack at that, you know, with my type of mentality and like really go at it like that. I don't know. It was just something that was so cool. I did end up watching the Canelo Crawford fight on Netflix. I was a little skeptical about it. I'll tell you this why. The Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, I covered it on the podcast. I shared my thoughts on it. I thought it was stupid, silly, and what a scam, right? And I was like, you know what? You know, despite it being a scam, despite it being a waste of time, everyone's time was wasted. There's no question about that, right? But I will say that Netflix had a lot of trouble broadcasting that event. It was very glitchy, very staticky, a lot of buffering, a lot of freezing, a lot of kicking me out, a lot of app crashing. I'm like, oh great, here we go. Netflix is like big shot at you know streaming a big sporting event. They can't even do it. How could I expect them to do NFL games in the future? Like if they were to do it, this was an actual legit, you know, boxing match that we had right here. I gotta say it was done well. There was no buffering on my end. There was no glitching. There was no there's no freezing, no app crashing, nothing like that. It was actually, you know, smooth for the most part, right? So good for Netflix for that. They actually, you know, were prepared for that event, and it was actually a success. Now to the fight itself. I like Canelo a lot. I really do. I was rooting for Canelo to win because, I just think that he's a very likable fighter, right? The lineage, he's Mexican, I'm Mexican. It's like, it's pretty cool. Why not? He's very good, very respectful as a person, very professional as a fighter. Why not have him win? Crawford, I really haven't seen him box at all, so I'm like, this could be is this actually going to be a challenge? Is he scheduling someone who he could beat easily? I have no idea. Until the fight actually began, and during the first like 4 rounds of the fights, it was a lot of dodging. It was a dodge fest. Just dodging punches, not really throwing a lot of punches. But then the cards, the rounds rather, the judges score the rounds as they're going on. They all had Crawford winning these matches with like the little punches that he might have landed, tiny jabs he landed, and versus like Canelo's like barely any, right? And then so he was like already from the start pretty much winning the fight. And then the fight keeps continuing, and it's still kind of a dodge fest. And then they start to actually throw punches. I noticed that Canelo was kind of going for haymakers and big shots and trying to knock the guy out. And Crawford was staying composed and like just kind of jabbing at him, landing more punches than Canelo did. And it seemed like as the fight progressed, like he was landing more bigger punches than Canelo. Canelo was landing some, but not a lot, and then it just kind of got away from him. And then at the last rounds, Crawford looked like he had a lot of energy. Canelo looked like he had was just gassed. There was this whole dialogue and whole conversation through the fight. Like, Canelo's 35. Is he too old? But then they said the age of Crawford, which was 38. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's no excuse here. Canelo, you have no excuse. You're older or you're younger than Crawford. This whole dialogue and conversation like he's too old is BS. This can't actually be like a point that you can talk about. And the commentators that were on the call were John Anik and Max Kellerman, and I'm like, you guys can't really be actually, putting out this dialogue during the fight when Crawford is handling Canelo and he's older than Canelo by 3 years, right? This cannot be an actual talking point. This can't be a point of debate that you're talking about while this fight is going on. I'm sorry, but you can't pull that on me. Sorry. But nonetheless, while the guy I wanted to win did not win, overall it was a good fight, and it was a fair fight, a fair and square fight, like straight up Canelo lost. And I was just like, you know what? I can see that totally from start to finish. Like, he didn't win to me very many rounds. He lost the fight, in my opinion. And you know what? Honestly, I think that was a fair fight. It wasn't fixed in any way. I think like the majority of the crowd there was a Canelo crowd, so a lot of people were disappointed. I could tell that Dana White was a Canelo better because he never looked at the fight. If you were watching the fight and you saw ringside was Dana White, you could tell it was Dana White, and he like barely looked at the actual fight itself. He was looking at the ground. He got up a few times, and you can just kind of tell that he looked like he had bet on Canelo with like a huge wager. And throughout the fight, it looked like Canelo was just going to lose the fight. I'll be honest with you. He did not look good in that fight. He looked like he was just immature, gassed, could not punch Crawford. And Crawford had just, the momentum and the energy, and just Canelo didn't. So that was kind of funny just to see how Dana White was like, oh no, what have I done? I can't do anything. But if you don't know, Dana White is a huge gambler, right? And this fight is in Vegas, the home of like United States gambling. Casinos, sports betting, whatever you want to bet on, you can bet there. And like this fight, it being in Vegas, it being a sporting event, it being, entertainment, there's going to be wagers on that. And yeah, I mean, you could just tell that this dude bet a heavy wager on Canelo. And Like no point in the fight, like towards the end, and it was anybody, I think, like, nah, Canelo's gonna win, and like it was just a fair and square. Terrence Crawford beat him up. He did. Not he didn't like beat him up like as he knocked him out, but he outboxed him. He did pretty much almost every round. He outboxed Canelo. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a second part to this. If there's going to be a rematch, I could definitely see that happening. I actually would like that. I think that'd be pretty cool to watch. But the fight concluded, and I gotta say, Crawford was the better boxer that night. Pretty much hands down. Like there was no shot. There was like no like I couldn't tell. I couldn't see any way that the judges would be like, nope, Canelo won. Like there's just no way. And even Canelo knew it. Like he just knew by his his body language that that this was a game, a match that he had lost, and you can just kind of tell. All right, last before I get out of here, we're going to talk the Week 2 NFL results and scores, what's happening around the league, and my thoughts on that. So I guess I'll start with my team first, right? The Rams beat the Titans 33-19. I got to admit to you guys, that first half was not looking pretty good. We looked pretty much like non-existent on offense. It wasn't looking that great. The Titans were, handling us. They were, able to, keep up with us, take the lead in some senses, in some points, and it wasn't looking that good. Second half rolled around, Puka went off, Devontae contributed, and we ended up winning that game. And, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think that we're a very good team. I really do think that we're a good team. Now, we beat a team that is not very good in the Titans that have a rookie quarterback. We should not lose to this team. It should not be a loss. I was very disappointed that they actually had it close in the first half, but, Sean McVay is a good coach. You got to play all quarters of the game to win, right? So we ended up winning that game, by 14 points, by 2 touchdown scores. So I'm happy with the results. The Thursday night game between the Packers and the Commanders was not a good game. 3 Commanders that I saw, there might have been more, got injured that game. 1 out for the season in Austin Eckler. Torn Achilles. Done. Is that because of the short rest? I think we got to really look at Thursday Night Football, guys. We actually might need to analyze Thursday Night Football this year, really look at it and see, is this doing more harm than good for the players? Because Austin Eckler getting a season-ending injury on a short week rest, that can't be ignored. That to me is not ignorable, that you have to look at this and be like, is this because of Thursday Night Football? If he were to have a full week's rest and play on Sunday, would that have happened? Possibly, but also possibly not. It's a tragedy. It sucks. It's not good. The Packers did end up winning that game 27-18. But, you just have to look and see, was this something that could have been prevented if there was no Thursday night games? I don't know. The Ravens beat the Browns 41-17. I mean, the Browns are just not very good right now. They don't really have a lot of good quarterback play. The Ravens are one of the best teams in the league. So, this score to me is not super surprising. I did pick them to win this game. And it looks like, they got some decisions to make at quarterback. I mean, Joe Flacco's good. I like Joe Flacco, but he might not be the answer, the long-term answer. I mean, also, you got to think about this, right? You're the Browns, and you drafted Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, and you're still continuing to start Joe Flacco. What's the deal with that? why would you draft Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders if you're not going to start them? Why is Joe Flacco still being the continuous number one starting quarterback for the week if you're not even going to, the guys you drafted are quarterbacks? What's the deal? I kind of scratch my head on like what is actually going on with the Browns? Like what is their plan with this? Can't seem to figure it out. Bengals beat the Jaguars 31-27. Joe Burrow out for 3 months. Turf toe, got surgery. I don't know what turf toe is. Sounds very, very painful from what I could tell by watching football for many, many years, that it's an injury that will not go away. I thought it was just like your toe getting jammed like into the turf when you're running or something like that, but I guess it's something else. So he's out for 3 months at least. So possibly season ending. And they got, they won the game, but like they're not looking too good to continue on their season. The Jaguars are just the Jaguars. I mean, they lose this game. They still have a lot of talent on that team. I just don't know like when that talent's really going to actually show up and win these games and look like an actual good team. Because every game you watch of the Jaguars, dude, they don't look like a good team. They just look like an okay team, but they have a lot of good players, right? Maybe not the best, but like they're good at least. Like when are they going to actually win games like and like look like a good team? There's always something with them that just looks bad. Cowboys beat the Giants 40-37. This was a wild game. I picked the Cowboys to win this game, and thank God, I don't like the Cowboys, but hey, I picked them to win, so like I need them to win, Russell Wilson played pretty well, had a lot of throwing yards, but like losing this game, Brandon Aubrey's the MVP in this game. Lions beat the Bears 52-21. The Bears were like, I'm going to make this personal. That one loss that we had last week against the Packers, right, when we only scored 13 points, was not a good look. So they battled back. They bounced back and scored a whopping 52 on the Bears. Dude, the Bears suck. The Bears actually suck. All these Ben Johnson lovers and being like, we love Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson's a good pick, and Ben Johnson's going to be a good head coach. Really? Really? First of all, he can't even get his offense to click, to roll. There's no momentum. There's no rhythm in the offense. Caleb Williams looks like crap. Actual crap. He's not hitting his marks. He's not hitting his receivers. His progressions suck. He's making bad decisions. And now you have like a totally mismanaged team. Like, people are guilty of this every single year, right? They think an incredible coordinator is going to be a good head coach. Guys, they're not the same job. One has to motivate. The other one just calls plays. Ben Johnson, to me, I'm sorry, does not give off head coach vibes. Dan Campbell does, right? Dan Campbell gives off, head coach vibes. Ben Johnson don't. I'm sorry, are you guys wanting him to be a good head coach? It doesn't seem, as of yet, it's 2 games into the season, that he has what it takes to lead these men. I don't see it. Patriots beat the Dolphins 33-27. Listen, I don't care about either team, but I do care, and I do like watching these Dolphins lose and lose and lose. Why? Because they're a hateable team. Why? I'll tell you why. Their player personnel and their head coach. I cannot stand Mike McDaniel as a head coach in the NFL. He looks, and I'm just going to quote what Rex Ryan said, he looks like a nerd boy. How the hell is this man the head coach of the Miami Dolphins? You actually believe that this guy actually has what it takes to lead these grown men to win football games? I don't think so. And I think that the more we see him in these games and the more games that he coaches, air quotes, coaches, the more we see like this man is not capable of the job. And it's weird because like for the first couple of years he had them dialed in, but now all of a sudden it's like is he not trying? Is he not got the guys motivated? Do they not care? Like what's going on? I mean, they have all the money in the world. They paid Tua, they paid Tyreek, they play in Miami. They have cool colors. They got a lot of fans. Like, what's the issue? What's the deal? You lose to the Colts and then you lose to the Patriots. Like, what exactly is the issue here? It's got to be some kind of motivation / respecting. They don't respect the coach or not motivated by the coach, and therefore they're not winning games. But, you know, as much as people were wanting the Dolphins to bounce back, I had still, at the end of the day for that week, I picked the Patriots to win. And thank God I did, because they won. 49ers beat the Saints 26-21. I got to admit to you guys, I didn't watch a lot of this game at all. So, I mean, Mac Jones, I guess, played good enough to win this game. Cool. I guess, you know, he still has a future in the NFL with Brock Purdy being out, and they're able to get the job done. Bills beat the Jets 30-10. Didn't watch this game either, honestly, but I think Justin Fields got hurt in the game, so he is not going to be playing Week 3. And the Bills, you know, this is just a classic like AFC East team that we can just beat. Seahawks beat the Steelers 31-17. Did not see that coming. I had picked the Steelers to win this game because of last week. Aaron Rodgers looking pretty good. This week, Aaron Rodgers looked terrible. Like really bad. There was a lot of bad throws by this guy. I'm talking across the body, you know, flailing arms, you know, in the air, throwing to, I mean, like, what the heck are we doing here? I swear to you, there was a video that the NFL had posted on their Instagram saying that, what was it? That Aaron Rodgers can still throw, right? But, you know, it was an incompletion. So I don't know what's wrong with this guy, or like if he's just trying to like hold on for dear life and be like a, you know, doing anything that he can to prove that he's still the guy at starting quarterback. But like, it does seem like it's kind of like gone in, you know, to the point where you're like, brother, you might not have it. Like, you just might not have it anymore, which is sad, right? Because Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback that, you know, I grew up watching as like one of like the top quarterbacks in the league. So like, it is kind of sad to see like him like no longer be like, you know, the guy in as he kind of wants to be and is still kind of trying to make himself out to be, you know? So, I mean, again, it was just one game, but, I don't know. Like, it could just spiral out of control. Like, you remember Tom Brady's final year? Just didn't look good. You know, it just did not look good at all. It could kind of end up being like that type of situation for the Steelers. But then again, it was just one game. So, like, there's a lot of football that is going to be played. And I'm sure that, you know, they could, you know, that they would be able to be maybe battle back, maybe. But, I mean, it's kind of a stretch at this point. Cardinals beat the Panthers 27-22. I did not watch this at all, but I did pick the Cardinals to win, so that's good. Colts beat the Broncos 29-28. I barely watched this game. I just know that Bo Nix did not play very well, and Daniel Jones played good enough, and the Colts are now 2-0, which is kind of crazy. And I think that I saw somewhere that the Colts were not 2-0, haven't been 2-0 for a very long time. I'm not sure exactly when their last time they were 2-0, but like it's been a while. Eagles beat the Chiefs 20-17. The Eagles are still like, for some reason, like ponied as like the team of the NFL for some reason. Even though they played and won against teams that are not very good in the Dallas Cowboys and the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, the Kansas City Chiefs are not a good team. I think we all saw that when they played the Chargers. Patrick Mahomes does not look that good. The team overall just doesn't look that good. I'll be honest with you. And, for some reason, it just kind of seems like they're not a very good team. So when the Eagles win 20-17, I'm not surprised. I'm not like, oh, I mean, they won this game. Like, good for them. Like, I'm like, I look at them like, you didn't win by that much. I mean, like, you barely beat them. Like, I mean, what's going on? Like, this is like, I mean, they don't got a pony on these guys that hard, right? I feel like I could be wrong, but I just feel like, the NFL just ponies up these guys so much, and it's like, it's just annoying. Falcons beat the Vikings 22-6. Dude, I'll be honest with you, man. When I saw that game and I watched that game, I was in shock of how bad J.J. McCarthy was this game. He was bad. Like, he's going to be out next week with, I believe, an ankle sprain or something like that. But like, and then Carson Wentz is going to step in for the Vikings. But I saw him play, and I'm like, what the heck? This guy's terrible. Like, legit, like, actually bad. Like, what the heck happened? How could he be this bad? And after like that, after the first Monday night game, he battles back from the death against the Bears and comes back and is like, outplaying Caleb Williams. In this game, he just couldn't get anything going at all against the Falcons. The Falcons have a pretty good defense, but like nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was just like, what the heck's going on? So that's something that we got to keep an eye on too. Like, J.J. McCarthy, like, are you good or are you not good? I mean, clearly, you were drafted by the Vikings to, be the future. Kevin O'Connell is your coach. I mean, are you just reading something wrong? Or are you just like, I don't know what to make of that one. Monday night games, Buccaneers 20, Texans 19. Baker Mayfield is really, really good. He is good. I think that we need to really take and look and appreciate how good Baker Mayfield is, and like how just kind of like look at Baker Mayfield and just see and view dude, this guy is just really good. And at maybe 4 years ago, he almost was you could probably say he probably is busting out. He was probably just going to fall out of the league and not be on a team. How the Browns made him leave, how he went to the Panthers, wasn't very good, kind of got resurrected by the Rams, and now is with the Buccaneers, being very, very good, starting quarterback. He's battled back so hard, and he's just come back, and it's just we can't really second guess it or overlook how good he is and what he has done for that team, and it is just insane. And it's cool to watch too. He was almost out of the league, you could say, and now is an established starter. And the Buccaneers are 2-0. Last game, Chargers 20, Raiders 9. Chargers are looking really good, and the Raiders just looked abysmal. Looked like they couldn't do anything at all. Interceptions left and right. Geno Smith playing bad. Justin Herbert playing good. And Chargers, divisional game under their belt, got a dub, 2-0. Well, 2 divisional games now. They beat the Chiefs and they beat the Raiders. So they are top dog of the AFC West at the moment and looking pretty comfortable, I gotta say. And Justin Herbert, man, this guy is just playing so good that when I see this dude play, I think I said last podcast, Brady-esque. I mean, this guy could be unlocked. That first year with Jim Harbaugh was up and down, but this year so far, 2 games in, and I know it's very early, right? 2 games in, but he's looking pretty dang good. like MVP status, potentially good, you know? So yeah, that was it. That's the NFL recap of week 2, and that's going to be it for me today. People, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.